What's going on, everybody? Today's a fun one because there's a new addition to the family. So, a couple months ago, we did a review on the Forte Ears Macbeth with its ambition cable. And that was one of those I could ride away in the sunset. By the way, just to bring this up, because I know there have been a few comments on it, I will be having my tier list soon. Hopefully, a little after Can Jam SoCal. There are a couple reasons why I haven't done it yet. A, I wanted to have enough IMs reviewed for me to be able to formulate what would be my right away with, what would be my I could do without. Number two is the amount of reviews. I wanted to have enough just to be able to formulate something like that, because it seems disingenuous if I've only had like 3 reviews and I'm like, oh, this is my tier list on IMs. No, I need to go through a whole bunch of IMs. So that'll be coming out soon. Back to what we're talking about here, though. So we did that review on the Macbeth a couple months ago. Now we have the second sibling in the family from Forte Ears. And as you know, I spent some time talking to Ricardo, and I think he's one of the most talented tuners out there, because Macbeth, classical. That being said, now we have what many people chalk up as a complementary set to the Macbeth, which I disagree with, but we'll talk about after that. We'll talk about that during the sound part, which is a Mefisto. And again, like Macbeth, which had ambition, Mefisto comes with a temptation cable. So, as you can tell, today's review is going to be on that. But special shout out to A Screaming, as always, for allowing me to review some amazing IMs. So without further ado, let's get into the review of the Forte Ears Mefisto. Alright, so the Forte Ear Mefisto. It retails for $2,899. It's got 4 balance armatures, 2 dynamic drivers, and a nano diaphragm planar magnetic driver. Now, this is not the standard cable that comes with it. This is actually the upgrade cable. So this is a temptation cable. It also retails for $2,899. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the Mefisto. Its faceplate is very beautiful, a little bit more subdued than the Macbeth, but I think they both are really, really good looking. Also attached is the temptation cable, which is the upgrade cable specifically made for Mefisto that is supposed to bring out all the best attributes of it. So it's a really good looking cable as well. This part. So pound for pound, it really is a stunning combination. Alright, you know how we do it. Let's talk about fit and finish on the Mefisto. I still think it's a very good looking IM. I would say it's about a medium size IM. Haven't had any issues with comfort because it's very light and it fits very well. So no issues there. Of course, we've got the temptation cable connected to it. Very good looking 8-wire cable. Haven't had any microphonics or issues like that, so pretty good. All right. So how does the Forte Ears Mefisto sound? Before I get into that, it's kind of funny. When you listen to reviewers or people that are writing stuff up, one of the most important things is to find out what type of music that they listen to. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when we say all-arounder, we're talking about an IM that can play everything, right? But that is very interesting too, because if we don't listen to everything, then what might be an all-arounder for me is definitely not going to be an all-arounder for you if you don't listen to the type of music I listen to. So that's what's kind of funny, because for some people, the Macbeth was kind of a specialist, and the Mefisto is the all-arounder. But for me, it's the opposite. And I'll say why. Because the Macbeth covers probably 80 to 90% of what I listen to, what it does the best. So for me, the Macbeth is the all-arounder here because classical, acoustic, jazz, vocal, I think sound superb. And the Macbeth would be the one that I would grab if I wanted to just sit and listen to everything. The Mefisto, on the other hand, is a specialist for me in a sense, because it's well, let's just kind of break it down the sound. It's more mid bass than sub bass, and I'm a sub bass guy, and I like it, but I also like a little bit of balance of the mid bass. But the Mefisto has great mid bass. Like when you're listening to Yusuf Days and his drum kit, it sounds magical. But for me, it lacked a little bit compared to the Macbeth and the sub bass, which I really like as well. So Mefisto is more mid bass forward than sub bass for me, which is fine. But some tunes it lacked the sub bass that I was really, really wanting. When it comes to the mids are excellent in the Mefisto. Vocals sound good. They're not to the level of Macbeth. Macbeth has almost bird-like in a sense, Aureolus Tralee, emotion and all that. But Mefisto was fine. What Mefisto I thought does really, really well is instruments. Because if you have heard Macbeth, then a lot of things will be lacking, especially voices. But with kicking Macbeth out, voices are still very good with Mefisto, but instruments are awesome. Like listening to Bill Lawrence, you've got his piano, when it's solo him, or with Michael Lee in that album together, You and Yours, I always bring up. Mefisto sounds really, really, really good. Mefisto also sounded very, very awesome to me with EDM music too, and a lot of rap when it's just the beat, the thump, 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 sounds really awesome. If you're one of those guys like back in high school like me that had subwoofers in our car though, a lot of what we wanted was the rumble. And some of the tunes, again, without the rumble, sound a little off to me. But all in all, I really like Mefisto when it came to just things that were tight with the mid bass, because it's a very tight bass. It's not a very loose bass. It's a very tight bass. And that mid bass was so good on the Mefisto that you can feel it in your body. And that's very nice. But I also would like to feel a little bit more of the sub bass. But let's get to the treble. The treble is sparkly. It's nice. Things like Manu Katchu, when he's hitting those cymbals, sounds great. Yellow Jackets sounds superb. Yusuf Days, again. And I also liked, for me, where Macbeth has a more expansive soundstage you can fall into. Mefisto is like sitting in a small club. So it was like, when I'm listening to stuff like jazz and things like that, it's almost appropriate in a sense where the size and the width is enough to make you close your eyes and think you're there. Now, the one thing that has bothered me a little bit is that with Mefisto, you can get the upgrade cable, the Temptation. And from what I heard, you were supposed to be able to get the Temptation throughout the life of Mefisto. But then Ricardo put out a bulletin saying that they've run out of material or there's some kind of issue with the Mefisto Temptation cable where please order by September, and because they're going to run out. Which is kind of disappointing for me because, again, Macbeth with Ambition was very, very good. Now, was it ridiculous in a sense? Yes, because $4,000 AM, $4,000 cable. But if you are a cable roller or someone who's in the cable game, there's some crazy prices for cables. And it was in not justifying the price and everything, but Macbeth and Ambition were such a perfect combination. And almost in a sense that everything that else on Macbeth sounds kind of lacking. So my biggest qualm was always that in the future, if you wanted to hear or buy the perfect pairing, you can. And it looks like the same thing is happening with the Temptation cable. So that's kind of a disappointment. I haven't heard since it's so early what other people have been using as alternative cables to the stock cable. Who knows? But that's only quip. But other than that, if I had to choose between Macbeth and its sibling, I would definitely probably choose Macbeth for what I listen to. But they're very complementary in a sense, but the opposite reason, because Macbeth would be my all-arounder and Temptation would be kind of like my chill IM. Because the other thing too is I think Macbeth, or the sibling, is so much more chill when it comes to just the way it presents the music, where Macbeth can be almost no chill because you're hearing all the dynamic changes, you're hearing so much resolution. It's almost like the sense of being at a live performance, where it's the opposite here, which is nice because sometimes you want to be at a concert and a live performance. Sometimes you want to grab some scotch or whatever your favorite thing is and just sit back and relax to it. So I think this is where this IM does extremely well. So another very good IM. I like the way he tunes. I like the timbre. I like how everything sounds realistic. Nothing sounds off. And it's definitely a really good IM. All right, so is the Mefisto a buy? If you are more of a mid-bass than a sub-bass person, if you like tight bass, the bass on the Mefisto, especially the mid-bass, is so good. You feel it inside. If you want more of a laid-back listen, that's not so in your face, something that you can sit back and chill back and listen to, it's very, very good. And at $2,900, it's not a bad price in that realm, and it competes well with all the other ones that fit in that realm. So definitely, if Mefisto, if you want something especially good with EDM, old school, some rap and stuff like that, jazz it's very good with, then yeah, it's a good IM. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask, and I'll see you in the next video.